we are happy to have Dr. Kevin McAllister as our career spotlight today. And he has a very diverse background. And I'm going to ask him to introduce himself, and then we'll ask some questions about his current position and some other areas around his career path. So,
Yeah,
Doctor.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So good morning, Dr. Kevin McAllister. Thank you and Growing Perspectives for having me today about the Career Spotlight. I'm very excited to be a part of this and kind of share my story and hope to motivate some people who are listening. I'm a native of Texas, background in engineering, and I've been in the Delaware area for almost the last 20 years. So I look forward to the discussion today.
Wow, that's awesome. So we met each other when we were both in Delaware, and I can't believe it's 20 years. So that's awesome. It's like, wow. So tell us what motivated you to pursue your current career path, and if you can tell us, what your current position is and what motivated you to go into that route.
Great. So thank you. So I am a procurement leader in the Innovation Center of Expertise for W.L. Gore and Associates here in Delaware. And procurement has really been a passion of mine. And I guess I uncovered it by having a very deep discussion with one of my mentors. We looked at my skills. My background is in chemical engineering. And we at the skill set to really understand where my passions were, where my strengths were, and how I could really help to grow both personally and professionally. And when I look at procurement, one of the things that really gets me excited about procurement is that it is one of the first functions that touches any part of a supply chain. So before anything is mixed in a chemical reaction, before anything is brought in, transformed, manipulated, enhanced, procurement touches it first. So the procurement function has the opportunity to really make a business successful and elevated, or to put the company or entity in maybe not such a good position. And so it's a very important function, but it's a function that really assists at the very beginning. And so with the Innovation Center of Expertise, where I am the functional support there and leader, it's very important for me to look at innovation and to really set up my stakeholders for the greatest level of success in early innovation and initiatives.
That's awesome. And that's exciting. What you just said, it is so critical, your function for success in the beginning.
Yes.
Some people, I know I've heard procurement called different names before. So maybe 5-10 years ago. So can you share with us, one common name that I've heard was sourcing. Right. So is there another name that people might be more familiar with in addition to the term procurement?
Yeah, so most people know it as procurement. Some people call it sourcing, and they really want to make the differential between sourcing and logistics. Some people will call it purchasing. So those are all the names associated with procurement. But procurement is more holistic and encompassing of the function and the responsibilities. Procurement is more of a strategic term as opposed to being a tactical term. So when I think about my responsibilities, I am dealing with procurement. Yes, I do purchase things for my stakeholders and for my business, but it's more than that. It's looking at how we look at working capital, how we look at strategic partnerships, strategic suppliers, and really how we cultivate supplier intimacy. Because without our suppliers, customers, our supply chains are at risk. And so procurement looks at all of those different angles to ensure that we are minimizing risk and setting up our stakeholders and our businesses for the greatest level of success. And that means looking at the steps in the supply chain before the product actually arrives to position us well.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So thank you for clarifying that and giving us some more insight around procurement. So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions about your career journey. So
Sure.
one is, what do you find to be the keys to your success in your career?
So that's a great question. Thank you for that one. So for me, the keys to my success are to always be authentic, because you can't fake it for too long. You have to be who you are. Also to be open and honest and straightforward, without leaving collateral damage, of course. That's very important.
Absolutely.
The other piece is to always be listening, because you have, in my career and with my function, you have stakeholders. So some stakeholders, they know what they want. They may not know how to articulate it, or they may not articulate something that they really want. So I always have to be listening and asking clarifying questions. And I think that the last thing that is very important, I actually lean upon some of my external passions. One of them is event planning. And so I think of procurement like an event. It's something where stakeholders say they want A, but I want to give them an aha moment. I want to exceed their expectations. I want to delight the client. So when I think about what I do for event planning and adding those special things that they may not notice, but when they look back at the pictures or they look back at the video, they'll say, wow, Kevin did that. And I didn't know that. I didn't even ask for that, but I like it. And so I take that and I really transform that into what I do for procurement. I don't necessarily just give you what you want. I know those things that you may want in the future or that you may need, that you may not be asking for. And I ensure that I'm able to do that without delaying any time frames and really at the end of the day, delighting my clients.
Awesome. And there's something that I wanted to highlight that you shared, and that was how you tapped into some of your external strengths to come into your day position,
Yes,
to help complement. And I think that's a great insight that others can definitely leverage, in addition to the other success tips, how you still continue to use your external strengths day in and day out,
right,
to help you.
That's very true, because this is about using all of the available tools in your toolkit. And I make sure that I use as many of my tools as I can in order to not just be good or adequate, but to exceed expectations.
It's excellent. To wow your clients and your customers.
Absolutely.
So that is awesome. So I'm going to ask you, have you had to make key transitions in your career? I know over your career path you've had some, but if you think of the key ones, share what was one of the most impactful transitions you made and how did that impact you?
Sure. So for the majority of my career, for almost 19 years, I worked for the DuPont company and had many great experiences and different roles in the DuPont company. And in one business that I was supporting, as there was a merger happening between DuPont and Dow, I was chosen to support a business that was being divested. And one day I sat down and said, wow, I'm actually leaving this company that I've been with my entire adult career.
Right.
And for me, that was an extreme transition that was actually somewhat emotional, because I was leaving some people that I actually called friends.
Yeah.
And so I said, what do I need to do not only to support the businesses that were going with the divestiture, but to make this the best thing for me personally and professionally. And actually, when I look back at the almost 5 years now that I've been away from DuPont, it's been a great experience because I have been able to see other companies, other cultures, other professionals, but also being able to understand what I like, what I don't like, what I will do professionally, and what I will not do professionally. So it's been eye-opening. There's somewhat of safety being with a company for your entire career because you know the company inside and out.
Right.
I mean, there are those, but you really know the company. And to be put into a place where you're not the old head, you're the new kid on the block, you have to learn a different culture. It helps with my adaptiveness. And being able to be limber and be flexible and be agile. And those are things that are very important that sometimes when you stay with the same company, they're not as sharp.
Excellent. That's excellent. I like what you shared too, how it was a personal transition for you and what you've gained as a result. So now I'm going to ask you, we'll talk a little bit about a key challenge that you have experienced in your career. If you can just highlight maybe one or two and what you learned from that also in your career.
So two that I would like to highlight. One is very, very personal to me, but I think that it's something that over the years, I feel more and more comfortable sharing. So around 2008, I began to lose a significant portion of my vision. And I'm actually legally blind. And so it's not something you can tell. It's not something you can see. But my vision is diminished. And so I've had to adapt. And that is a very scary life event that I've had to go through and try and conquer. There's something about losing, at least temporarily, some of your independence, relying on people, not being able to drive, not being able to see the screen clearly. But there's wonderful support systems, outstanding technology, and I've been able to advance in my career by getting the right supports around me to get me back to a very agile place, to be able to grow and to be able to share with others my experience. I just in April, I obtained my doctorate of business administration. I was top of class, 4.0,
Awesome.
part of the inaugural and historic class, the only male and the only African-American male to receive the degree. So I was first. And
Congratulations.
thank you. And I tell people, there are many times in class that I couldn't even see the board. But it's about using the resources you have to be successful. Absolutely. So that's one thing. And I think that it is important for me to also share with your audience just about being an African-American male. There's so many thoughts and misconceptions about who the African-American male is. Are we aggressive? Are we angry? Are we loners? And so I have really used that platform to show people, I'm an African-American man who loves to shop. I have a habit. I have a shoe habit. They're like, you have it.
And you sound very, very proud of it too.
I am. The Marco, but I got a nice little collection.
That's good.
But people certain aspects and vulnerabilities in a positive way. Absolutely. That they have experienced with African. males. And so, you know, you see certain things on TV, you hear things in pop culture, and so that's all you know. So I like to bring a growing perspective to what people think about African American males.
That's awesome. That's awesome. As you were sharing both sides, the African American male experience and your experience with losing your vision. I think those are very key. First of all, they're very personal that you shared, so I want to thank you for that. And second, I think it definitely opens up more awareness to others around different experiences and what you just said, you know, just being very transparent so others can see there's other sides, different perspectives.
Right.
So I'm going to just put a plug in now that you will be an upcoming guest on our podcast. So we're going to talk some more about your experiences further next month. So I'm really excited about that. So we're going to dig even deeper there. But I know there's one other thing I wanted to ask you as we wrap up our time together today. What else would you like to share with us about your career, your experiences that we haven't covered? And this won't be our last time talking, but I wanted to leave this time for you for any final thoughts.
Thank you. And I really enjoyed this conversation. You know, when I look back at my career and even where I currently am, I will tell you very transparently, I haven't done everything right. I haven't made all the right decisions, but I don't know of anyone who does. And there have been some consequences for that. But I don't regret anything. I take everything as a learning experience. And I want the audience to know that it's about growing. It's about doing self-evaluations.
Right.
And it's about also having what I call that amen corner. Those people that are not always saying you're doing everything right, but those people who are around you who are not afraid to tell you and give you honest feedback about things that you can do better. Those are the ways that you grow. And I would also encourage the audience, as I have done, to have international experiences. Don't just be focused on the United States or even North America in your career or in your personal life. I love to travel. I've had global roles where it's taught me that sometimes I have to alter my communication style so that I don't seem aggressive, so I can get the feedback from the regions that I need. So it's very important that we, as professionals, we remain flexible, always learning, always doing self-evaluations, and continuing to move towards our career, professional, and personal goals. And you can do both at the same time.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I once again want to thank you from Growing Perspectives. I really enjoyed talking with you, and we look forward to staying connected.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.